Incredible. The euro is sliding to a 4-year low this morning. Joining us now with the latest is Brian Dolan, Chief Currency Strategist for Forex.com, a division of Gain Capital. Brian, I guess it was about 2 weeks ago we had people say, oh, yeah, and it sounded ridiculous. I think we were at about 130, then 120 by the end of the year, and then within 2 years, $1. But this thing is there going to be any bounce at all, any short covering, any 2 or 3 month period where the euro gains, or is it just straight down?
I think we're actually on the cusp of that. I'm looking for the euro to bounce a little bit. We're coming down to some very major levels. The Europeans, all their rescue efforts have been intended to preserve the euro, support the euro, and the last thing they want to see is the euro just be taken to town and pummeled as a reserve currency. They don't want to see that, and they're not going to let that happen.
It's already happened, hasn't it?
It is, but again, it's also going through a structural adjustment, and I would agree with those forecasts that over the course of the next couple of years, we are looking at parity, something even possibly below that. The euro is going through a major generational structural adjustment based on the indebtedness, and ultimately it's going to be due to the economic underperformance out of the eurozone. The budget problems that they're facing right now it's calling for massive budget cuts, spending cuts, tax increases. All of this is going to undermine economic performance going forward.
Mm-hmm. We're feeling really good about ourselves over here all of a sudden, but
it's amazing what 6 months difference makes.
We've got our own problems, though. The greatest thing is we can keep printing money, I guess, and they're over there with all those disparate countries with all with the same currency and a different government. I mean, it's no way to run a European Union, is it?
Well, that's the whole thing. That's why I say it's a generational and a structural adjustment.
How do they fix it?
How do they fix it? They're going to have to come up with a new agreement in terms of managing their own budgets, and there's going to have to be a third party, sort of a supranational, independent economic administrator, if you will, that's going to enforce budget discipline.
They haven't enforced it at all up to this point, right?
No, they haven't.
Even the numbers that Greece was, the ones that weren't even real. They were lying about those numbers. Those weren't even within the guidelines that they.
That's entirely correct. But that's going to change. It's going to have to. Their economic viability is at risk, and for that reason, they're going to make these changes. You look at what the Portuguese, the French, the Spanish, and the Greeks are doing. There's going to be massive, civil unrest. There's going to be a major strike coming up on the 20th in Greece. But these governments are convinced they've got to do this, and the people are also prepared to accept it, I think.
Well, do you eventually see Greece leaving the union, or the weaker members leaving? Or do you see the strongest members saying, I'm going back to Deutsche Marks, you guys are on your own?
No, I think this has been a political effort from the beginning. It's never made economic sense, really, in the long run. And keep in mind, too, this is not something that was just hatched in 1997 or 1998. They've been planning this since the 60s and the 70s, and this has been a major effort on their part. So they're not going to give in on that.
I was going to say the idea of multilateral anything is so baked into their psyche. It'd be hard to imagine anyone sort of kicking someone out or leaving themselves.
Although Sarkozy already said, forget it. If you guys don't go along with this, we're leaving. Right?
Well, you have to look at that, I think, as a little bit of a political negotiation on his
But it
point.
raises the idea that people can step out of the union.
But, you look at Nicolas Sarkozy, and he's I think, an important example of what's happening in Europe. His parents are not from France. He is part of the new Europe and the new generation. In another 10, 20 years, the borders are going to be even more hazy, and this is much more of a sociological and a political effort on their parts.
He was actually talking to his wife. He looked at her, I'm out of here. But it's hard to distinguish what.
I would stay with that partnership, wouldn't you?
I don't know. That's been, they said, leave us alone. I guess they both got some things.
The Frenchman marrying an Italian. There you have it.
Yeah, exactly. It's weird that suddenly the yuan is appreciating like crazy because it's tied to the dollar, too. So maybe they don't have to do anything for a while.
They're not going to do anything because of the economic and market instability right now. As soon as markets start going haywire, they put everything on hold and they sit tight. So don't expect anything until the euro settles down. But we're looking at a couple of months of probably the euro stabilizing, gets back into the 130s. We're looking to sell it again.
Well, we don't know who's going to do or when he's going to do it, or who's going to do it, or if when we'll do it. Who? When? If. Thank you, Brian.
Thank you, Joe.
All right, see you later.